Mr. Deputy Speaker, employers are responsible for their domestic workers' medical bills in Singapore, including medical bills incurred due to illnesses and accidents that are not work-related. Employers may repatriate the MDWs after the MDWs are certified fit for discharge and or fit for flight. To help employers manage their migrant domestic workers or MDWs' medical expenses, they are required to purchase medical insurance plans of at least $15,000 a year to pay for inpatient care and day surgery. This is sufficient to cover about 95% of hospital bills incurred by our MDWs. Beyond the mandated coverage, employers can opt for higher coverage for the insurers to better protect themselves against large bills. MOM is reviewing the minimum insurance coverage amount. Employers who face financial difficulties in paying for their MDW's medical bills can also approach medical social workers at hospitals for assistance. MOM has stepped in to help some MDW employers who face genuine financial difficulty so that their migrant domestic workers could receive appropriate treatment even if their employers were not able to meet their obligations.
Ms. Tin.
Thank you, Senior Minister of State. I asked this question because I have a resident who is, I think it's probably not, it's one of a very few cases whereby the MDW was diagnosed with several STDs, and it was discovered only on her way to the airport to take a flight back home. And so the work permit at that point would have been terminated. And nobody knew until she detoured to see a doctor. So she was sent to the hospital, was hospitalized, the bill chalked up to about 5-figure. And the employer, who is an elderly, was expected to be responsible for the bill. I think under normal circumstances, if the illness is, or even accidents, even if it's not work-related, it's of no fault of the MDW, I think it would have been reasonable. But in this case, it seemed to be an excessive burden on the employer. To be fair, MOM and the hospital did try to come in to provide assistance. But my question is it equitable in such instances, albeit rare, for the employer to take up such responsibility? Should the responsibility therefore be shared by the MDW? Thank you.
Well, first, I thank the member for sharing her resident's plight. Indeed, I can fully understand the challenges that she faced and perhaps that feeling that, it was not equitable, that this was not the fault of this. So, but let me start with this, right? I recognize that employers generally depend on their migrant domestic workers for a variety of reasons, whether it's help for cleaning, whether it's caregiving for the elders or children. But when we employ a migrant domestic worker, one thing that we have to note that we are not just hiring an employee, we're also hiring a person, human. So there is a benefit that we get from the work. There is also the risk of discretion, just like any humans. So just like us. So under the current framework, employers are liable for their migrant domestic workers' medical bills, as it's more reasonable approach than to externalize such costs and impose them to taxpayers, for example. So we understand that due to the MDW's varying financial situations, we know that they are paid about several $100s a month. And therefore, in terms of affordability, I think certainly it's very difficult. And therefore, we also have a medical insurance scheme today. And this medical insurance scheme covers up to 95% of most medical bills. And of course, there's extenuating circumstances in a case like yours. So employers who face financial difficulties, certainly, as you shared, MOM will try to help them out. And there are schemes and funds. I think Minister Tan See Leng shared in an earlier PQ earlier this year that the hospitals administer on our behalf to help the outlier cases such as this. So rest assured, whether they are work-related, non-work-related, we'll try to help employers as much as we can. But ultimately, it's a fine balance that we're trying to also achieve. This is where MOM comes in. Because what we're trying to do is to make sure that the worker is not denied appropriate treatment, despite the fact that the employee may not be able to afford the full medical bill as well. So on one hand, we are also reviewing, as I shared earlier, the medical insurance scheme to see how best we can help more employers, tackle issues with regards to medical bills related to the employee. But at the same time, in cases like these, rest assured, we'll do our best to help your resident. And I'll take the case up separately with you offline. Thank you.